Hey friends, glad to have you for Table Talk. You'll recall this phrase was coined for lively gatherings hosted by Martin Luther around the time of the Reformation. Another more recent group famous for lively gatherings was the Inklings, a circle of friends which included C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, among others. As an aside, I'm making my way through this little book, which documents the collaboration of the Inklings and the fruit of their friendship. The book is called Bandersnatch. It's written very accessibly and includes some great illustrations of the Inklings as well. Just a quick plug for your quarantine reading list. Now, I'm sure there's some connection to be drawn to our next psalm on the long obedience, but for now, let's all grab a Bible and turn to Psalm 126. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter, our tongue with shouts of joy. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are glad. The psalmist cannot hold back from praising God for his great deeds of salvation, keeping close stories like God's deliverance from centuries of Egyptian slavery. And many since then have joined the chorus of the psalmist's glad song and joyful shouts. I'm sure you remember the old gospel hymn, Bringing in the Sheaves, and another tune we often sing at Pillar from the album Songs for the Sojourn. The psalmist's exuberant joy is wholehearted response to God's gift of salvation. But of course, this is not where Psalm 126 ends. Restore our fortunes, O Lord, like streams in Negeb. Those who sow in tears shall reap with shouts of joy. Here we see joy and sorrow as two sides of the same coin. And as in Psalm 126, so in the Christian life. Joy and suffering must be held together. This has been a constant theme for us, especially going through the pandemic. So I wonder if the Apostle Paul had Psalm 126 in mind when he wrote to the Christians in Rome, "We rejoice in our suffering," or to the Thessalonian saints, "Rejoice always." And then to the Philippians, "Again I say, rejoice." Joy is not a prerequisite for the Christian life. It's a consequence of the grace of God in Christ, an overflow of the gift. Joy doesn't discount sorrow. It is the way through a broken world of suffering to the promised land of the Trinity. So earlier I mentioned the Inklings, the circle of friends that included the likes of C.S. Lewis. And the theme of joy is a key thread in all of his work, though Lewis himself was no stranger to grief. I find it fascinating that the book he dedicates to his friends, the Inklings, is titled The Problem of Pain. And in it, Lewis writes this: "The Christian doctrine of suffering explains, I believe, a very curious fact about the world we live in. The settled happiness and security which we all desire, God withholds from us by the very nature of the world. But joy, pleasure, and merriment he has scattered broadcast. We are never safe, but we have plenty of fun and some ecstasy. It is not hard to see why. The security we crave would teach us to rest our hearts in this world and oppose an obstacle to our return to God. A few moments of happy love, a landscape, a symphony, a merry meeting with our friends, a bathe, a football match have no such tendency. Our Father refreshes us on the journey with some pleasant inns, but will not encourage us to mistake them for home." Psalm 126 reminds us we are refreshed on the journey. We know we can hold joy and sorrow together because the Lord has done great things for us, and so we can rejoice.